Hello, everybody. We're going to have an awesome time today with Darcy Luoma. So just a couple questions. Have you ever thought about life coaching? Have you ever seen any value in it or considered the value? We're going to talk about that today, as well as some corporate coaching as well. Stick with us. Thanks so much. Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to SimpleBiz360 podcast. Today, we have a special guest coming to us from Madison, Wisconsin, Darcy Luoma. Darcy, say hello to everybody if you can.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, tell us just a little bit about yourself before we kind of get into the groove today.
Absolutely. I am a mom of two sassy teenagers. I own a business, a coaching and consulting firm, and everything we do focuses on creating high-performing people and teams. And we look specifically at sort of the people problem side that get in the way of being high-performing. So communication, conflict, leadership, team building, that aspect.
Okay.
I, as you said, live in Madison, Wisconsin. And this last year over COVID, we had 8 foster dogs that we nurtured and found forever homes for. It was our COVID passion project.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, the kids must have loved that. Oh.
They loved it, and they got a very healthy respect for how much work dogs are.
That's awesome. Well, kudos to you for doing that. That's neat.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks so much for coming, guys. By the way, we have her book right here, which we'll feature a couple times, but we are going to have some real fun today. So just real quick, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube platform yet, feel free. Your lower right-hand portion of your viewing screen, you got a little icon there. You can just hover over it, and boom, you're on YouTube, and you can subscribe there. We're on 28 listening channels. So Darcy, we're going to be on everything you can think of, really, from a listening point of view. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. As we mentioned, Darcy's up a little bit north in Madison, and we have Maddie working the board. So we're going to have fun today talking about I love that intersection of life and business. And Darcy has a lot of that baked into everything she does, and really has a cool program that we'll get to towards the end. But hey, a little bit about just kind of where you came from. I mean, where did you grow up, if you don't mind me asking?
I grew up in the Twin Cities, so in Hastings, in Minnesota, and spent my whole life there. And then when I was 18, I went and lived in Germany for a year, came back to Wisconsin for college, and then pretty much have been in Wisconsin since the early 90s.
Okay. So I have a showroom up in Shoreview, which is right in between St. Paul and Minneapolis, right there on Lexington. So,
oh my gosh.
Now, where is Hastings in relation
Hastings
to?
is south. It's on the Mississippi River, and it's a southern suburb, about maybe 20, 30 minutes south of the Twin Cities.
Lakeville, Burnsville, down that area there? Okay, super.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Just south of Burnsville.
No, well, okay, great. Well, awesome. Well, so now, family-wise, big family, small family, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
So I have one older sister, and 3 years older, and she's still in the Twin Cities. And then my dad was a superintendent of schools. My mom was a teacher. And so come from an education, very, very heavy education family.
Wow. So now, was that an influence on your affinity for training eventually? I mean, do you think that leaked in there to you too?
Yes, I wanted to either be a teacher or a business owner. And so right now in this current phase, I've kind of figured out the blend of both and owning a business. And a lot of what we do, training, consulting, coaching.
Sure.
And so, but most definitely, I think that was part of where my love for education and learning came from, my family.
Well, you might be a lot like me. I realized being a trainer, I have about 1,300 hours, basically facilitating classroom training environments. And when you saw the light bulb go off, I could relate to teachers and how they must feel in having that experience of seeing a breakthrough with somebody. And, in training, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot of similarities in what we do, and especially what you do when you break through with someone. It has must have that same feeling and rewarding level that a teacher experiences. Do you agree, or?
I absolutely agree. And where I feel that the most, I most definitely feel it when I'm doing trainings and workshops and keynotes. And where I really get that, I don't know, where that feels the strongest is when I am doing individual and team coaching. Like that's when the ahas and the breakthroughs are the strongest, because instead of coming in when I'm doing a workshop or a training, and I've got the agenda, when I'm doing coaching, they bring the agenda. Yeah. And so it's like real time. We're focusing on where they are motivated and struggling or stuck. Yeah. And so that's why I feel like that, to me, when I can do a training program and then supplement it with coaching, that's like the most powerful combination.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's really neat. So, were your parents in, what grade levels did they teach, or what? Where were they active in teaching?
Yeah. So my dad was a 5th grade teacher, and then an assistant principal, assistant superintendent. Wow. And he finished his career as a superintendent for, I don't even know how many years. Wow. And then my mom was a 2nd grade teacher, and my grandma was a school bus driver for 32 years. And my grandpa was a school custodian, a public school custodian.
Education galore.
I remember cleaning the gymnasium in the school. And I remember riding in the school bus in a box. I mean, you could never do this now, but with my grandma, she'd have me in a box on the front seat.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is so wild. So you definitely have a strong connection to the education process all around. So undergraduate, did you go to University of Wisconsin? Is that where you went?
I went to University of Wisconsin in Eau Claire.
Okay. So Eau Claire. Okay. Which is for everybody, it's about 60 miles east of Minneapolis. Pretty much the Twin Cities. Okay. And then graduate degree. Where did you get your graduate degree?
Yeah, so I got my graduate degree at Pepperdine University. That's based in Malibu, California, but it was a very unique program. I was working full-time for one of our U.S. senators, you may know, Herb Kohl. I went to him and told him I was going to resign because I wanted to go back to graduate school full-time. And he said, "That's great. I think you should go to graduate school, but you can't resign. So figure it out." Yeah. And I said, "Well, I don't even know what that means." And he said, "Well, do the executive MBA at UW-Madison and, evenings and weekends." And I'm like, "Well, that's not what I want." Yeah. That started my process of researching schools. And I found this program. It's an MSOD, so Master of Science in Organization Development, through Pepperdine, that was designed for working professionals. And so I would go to class a couple of weeks every quarter over a period of a few years. And it was in California, in Mexico, in China, in France. And I kept my job working full time while I was a student. And that was fantastic because I was a full-time, I was the sole breadwinner for our family of 4. And that allowed me to have the stability of health insurance and, salary and all of that, while also getting my master's degree.
How great. And in your master's degree process, I know your thesis, didn't it kind of have a lot of organizational behavior and team performance built into the thesis, if you will?
Yes. And my thesis, I actually did on coaching, on life coaching, and the overall satisfaction, how life coaching impacts your overall life satisfaction. And so I took 100 former U.S. Senate interns who had interned for me, and I gave them all a couple of pre-tests. Then I randomly selected 10. I coached them weekly for 3 months, and then I gave all of them post-tests. Wow. And then I sent all the data off to a stats professor at UW-Madison. And I will never forget, Jeff, the day he called me and he said, "Oh my God, you should publish this." He said, "These results are incredible. You can unequivocally say that regardless of where someone starts in their journey, what age they are, what their gender is, what their degree is, what their level of self-awareness, that after 3 months of coaching, they have greater life satisfaction. They have more clarity on their goals. They have more self-awareness." Wow. That was then just what I needed to recognize and give me sort of that nudge to get certified and eventually launch my full-time business.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you clarified that, because I thought it was kind of more organizational and team based, but individual based. So very cool. And obviously,
yes. And then from there, I did go and get certified in organization and relationship systems coaching. And I do a lot of systems and team and organization work. So that's probably what you're thinking of, because you did your homework.
Yeah, no, great. Well, guys, and seriously, so we're going to just take a break and call out the website. You can go and check out Darcy's program. Thoughtfully Fit is her book right here. It's Darcy Luoma. So it's Loma, but it's Luoma. Right? At DarcyLuoma.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So DarcyLuoma.com or DarcyLuoma.com. So go there and check it out. And we'll do a couple more call outs throughout the episode. And so Cole, Senator Cole. So stick with me here, because the Cole family is, now I have a lot of experience with Coles up in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. They were one of my big customers. Actually I had two major professional breakthroughs with Coles. One about truth I had, but let's share that. So Senator Cole is from the Coles family that is associated with the stores, correct? And
that's correct. His parents started the grocery store, the first Kohl's grocery store in Milwaukee. Yes. And it was back when it was one of the first ones that had the bakery and the butcher, and right. And so it was very, very popular. And then that expanded, and then they started the Kohl's department stores.
Yeah. Yeah. So very cool, guys. So I think, now correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I was at either Harley Davidson or Miller Brewing. I want to say it was Harley Davidson headquarters. And wasn't one of the original Kohl's stores or grocery stores, or the original, right next to Harley Davidson headquarters there in Milwaukee?
I'm embarrassed that I don't know, Jeff. I should know that.
I think all I know is I went into it, and, kind of had like a dome, like an archway, and I remember like a half arch as I walked in. Because it had
that, it probably was, because it always had that, that signature half arch.
But it was very, very, very cool to learn that they came from the grocery store side of things and just got into dry goods, and then it kind of just blew up. And so, I have a lot of familiarity with them. So very cool. So in politics, obviously, a charged environment, a lot of different people interactions in that profession. So you spent 9 years in that role. Is that right? Or am I wrong?
Close. I was the director for 12 years.
Okay. 12 years. Okay. And then you have some background with University of Wisconsin on their staff as well, correct?
Yeah. They contracted with me to design the professional certified coach program. So in 2012, I spent a year designing this rigorous program. We got it accredited by the International Coach Federation, and it launched in 2013. And so it has every fall a new cohort of students who want to become a professional coach, whether they want to launch their own individual business, or maybe they are in HR or learning and development, or they're a president of a company and they want to take more of a coaching approach to their leadership style. They go through the program at UW-Madison.
Very cool. So guys, if you're not getting this drift, very accredited, a lot of good background that Darcy brings into her current program now. And so, any type of engagement with Darcy, I can say I'm not totally done with the book, but the flavor of it all is just a supercharged information. And obviously you've got somebody who can, walk you through it well, whether you're a corporation or an individual. So there's a little bit of athleticness that starts to bleed into everything you do. And I just want to explore that a little bit. We have some commonality there, but when did you actually, gain an affinity for athletics? In high school, before, later?
Seventh grade. I remember going, my neighbor, her dad was a runner, and I remember in seventh grade going for runs with him all summer long, and I got the bug. And so I then in seventh grade, joined the cross country ski team, the cross country running team, the track team, and have really just been a lifelong athlete.
Yeah. Wow. Well, very cool. So, you competed at a high level, or you competed in high school. Now, after high school and college, did you enter any races or, do marathons or triathlons?
Yeah. So I skied in the Junior Olympics and then transitioned after to doing, the Birkebeiner and the Pepsi Challenge and the Mora Vasaloppet, a lot of cross-country ski races, and then started to do marathons. I also did a lot of rollerblade marathons. I rollerbladed from Grand Marais, Minnesota to the state capitol, and then in 1998, I did my first triathlon, and I have been doing triathlons every year since then.
No kidding. Now, the full triathlon, which is 112 miles biking, 26 miles, 0.2 miles running. Can't shave off the 0.2. I know that.
That's right.
And then what, a mile and a half swim?
2.4.
2.4. Okay. So
mile swim.
Wow. That is incredible, Darcy. Yeah, that is really cool. Rollerblading, and never got into that, but so you are really heavily involved in. So tell the listeners and viewers how much today does that interest, that genuine interest in athletics, play into your professional and personal life today?
Every single day, it plays in a lot for a couple of reasons. One is because I'm a better mom. I'm a better business owner. I'm a better friend when I am focused on my fitness. And I mean, there's times when my stress is high and my daughters will say, "Mom, do you want to go for a bike ride?" And so it grounds me, and I feel I'm more alert. I'm more creative. I'm less stressed. Yep. And then it also is very much a part of my life because the Thoughtfully Fit model that we've designed our whole business around and wrote a book about is a metaphor for being physically fit. And I learned that, like, if you want to be physically fit, you need to train and practice. And if you do, every movement's easier. I mean, the first triathlon I did in 1998, the Devil's Challenge, it was miserable. It was hard. I hadn't trained. Yeah. And now I did that same triathlon this September, 23 years later, faster than I did when I was 28 years old, which is insane. And it's because I'm trained and practice. Right. And so that was the basis for designing this model to be Thoughtfully Fit, which is all about being able to train and practice to handle the curveballs, the conflict, the adversity that life throws your way.
Right. Excellent point. I thank you for bringing that up. And guys, if you're sitting home and you've never been in part of a training program, you've never been with a company that's been able to afford you, an educational environment where you learn through training, it really is worth investing, because I know that I was almost out of my entry-level job in New York City. I had been trained for 4 weeks, and I shunned 100% of my training. I did not use any of it. And they always told you, to you it's going to sound canned, but to the person you're telling it's going to sound planned. And the very day that I switched that button on and I started using my training, everything changed. And that's why I'm here today, because the light bulb kept going off with me, and I kept getting affirmation in my own professional life that, you know what, training works, because you're taking third-party influence, you're taking third-party information from someone else who's been down a road before you have been down it. And they're telling you what to avoid, what to do right, what to do, what to do more of, what to do less of, and how to do it. And when you really aspire to that, it unlocks so many potentials. And so if you're sitting here at your home listening to this, or you're watching it and you've never engaged in coaching, or you've never engaged in any kind of training, I really encourage you to at least pick up Darcy's book, if not contact her, because there's so much value to come out of that process. And I just, I know for myself, again, I've not done the triathlons, I've done 6 marathons, and I know we traded back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we traded back some stories on it a little bit, but I think in one of the, 3 of the marathons I hit the wall, 3 of them I did not hit the wall. The 3 I didn't hit the wall in, it was only because I did better training in the 12 to 16 weeks leading up to it than I did in the 3 times I hit the wall. And so, you know, I use this example, and I did a podcast about it, whereas, you know, you have this concept of piles of miles. A lot of marathoners say, oh, you got to get up and, you know, run the piles of miles every week, when really what I learned was I reduced the number of miles, but then every mile, and I went down to an average of 41, was my sweet spot. But the intentionality of every one of those miles was what I focused on. So if we're intentional about what we're doing during the course of our business day, our family time, we get more out of it when we accept the fact that, you know, we can train ourselves to be intentional about that time we're diving into. So a great, I love how athletics has come in, how it's a big part of your story. And guys, when you read Darcy's book, she's gonna open up with a story that illuminates how physicality shined a light on mindicality. I don't even know that's a word, you know, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, yes, there's something to this. So I won't give it away, but could you just share, and I know we didn't kind of plan on this, but could you share a little bit about that mountain climbing story?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean that I've done a lot of adventure travel, and that's the other reason why being physically fit is an important part of my routine, because then when I'm out on adventures, I, you know, can say, yeah, let's go climb that mountain, let's go explore, and it's a lot more fun to not be exhausted and miserable and sore. Yeah. And so my girlfriend Nancy and I will have had a lot of adventures and traveling to Turkey and Peru, I mean, all over. Yeah. And so that the story that I opened with was basically sharing, we did backcountry hiking in the Grand Tetons. And without telling the long version, I was, you know, climbing up this mountain, and my ice axe didn't stick, and my crampons didn't really stick in the snow. Yeah. And so I fell and I tumbled down this mountain, and like and it was steep, and I'm just hitting my face, and I landed at the bottom, and the ice axe was going through my pants, through my underwear, and out the other side, and somehow did not. I have no idea how it did not puncture my leg, and I was bloody and beat up, but was able to continue. And it was scary. It was intense.
And it sounds, and guys, it's a great story, but and you bring it up a little bit more here and there in the book, but didn't that really shine a light on your life at that time, that you could handle that because you had prepared for that? Yes. And you then transferred that line of thinking to the line of thinking of life and intersecting life and business, and you could apply it to the mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the fact that we would be running and doing triathlons, right, and training and marathons and all of that, so that we could go and do, right, this adventure travel, and we could go and kayak around Nova Scotia and bike across, right, Colorado, and just things where you can explore. And so that notion that when you train for it, it's easier and it's more fun. In the same way, when we have challenges in our life, and the research that we've done with my firm, it says that everybody that comes into our coaching has one of 6 obstacles, 6 hurdles that get in the way of being high performing. And you can actually train to prepare. If you know that those are the hurdles that get in the way, you can train and prepare for them, so that when the obstacles come, you're better able to clear them. Yeah. Instead, and so it's not about eliminating the hurdles or like hoping that nothing ever goes wrong, or there's not conflict. It's instead being ready for it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. No, great story. So Nancy's your friend. You do a lot of these get together with her, and you go travel, and you do a lot of adventures. And then Jill and you, your friend Jill and your colleague, you're putting together Thoughtfully Fit. You're piecing this together. Everything's kind of you've got the framework for this. Everything is frameworked out. The hit the go button is just around the corner. And there's another part of your story that makes your product for people, your coaching, and a little more, I guess, unique. So March 17th, 2016. Are you comfortable with sharing what happens on that night?
Yeah, absolutely. It was St. Patrick's Day. And it was 5 days after the Thoughtfully Fit model officially came to life. After 5 years of intense research and development, we finalized Thoughtfully Fit and the 6 practices and the core and how to help people overcome their hurdles. And I got a phone call on that Thursday afternoon from my neighbor. And she said, "Darcy, what's going on at your house?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not at home. I'm at a meeting. Why?" "There are 40 or 50 police cars and a SWAT team, and they're surrounding your house with guns, and they just took John out barefoot in handcuffs." I'm like, "Wait, what? My husband? What are you talking about?" I found out later that my husband was arrested that day for sexual assault of a minor he had met online. And he was put into jail. He was a full-time stay-at-home dad to our 2 young daughters, and he never came home. He was ultimately sentenced and convicted to 10 years in prison. And it became my worst nightmare. It wasn't even, Jeff, a nightmare. I'd never had a nightmare that bad. I found myself on the front lines of trying to navigate a legal system, trying to figure out how to be a single mom, how to help my daughters through this trauma, how to try to keep my business alive, because as a small business owner, the main thing that we have is our reputation and that credibility that I had built up. And it just, with that one phone call, destroyed everything.
Yeah. Gosh, I can't even imagine, Darcy. So, well, thank you for being so transparent about that. So that is a life curveball that not many of us have to go through and navigate. So now you've got 2 daughters. They're preteen at that point. You're trying to figure life out, figure business out, figure this out, what happened. And, again, I want you to just kind of highlight that your program became your life preserver, correct? In a way?
It really did, because the charges were so severe that I had to hire my own attorney, in addition to my husband, having a criminal defense attorney. And my attorney said, "Don't talk to anybody about anything. This is severe." And so in the worst days of my life ever, I was completely isolated, and I had to turn to, or I felt lucky to be able to turn to, this Thoughtfully Fit model. I became ground zero to test drive it, because all of a sudden those hurdles that I talked about and the obstacles, I was having every single one of them every day. Relationships that weren't working, and feeling blindsided, and feeling stuck and completely overwhelmed. And the same problems that my clients had, just at a magnified, like times 1,000 intensity.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. So folks, you can see right here that test drive, unfortunately, right? Darcy had to take that test drive with her own model, with her own life. And so if there's, anybody ever more qualified, I don't think you can find one more qualified to, talk passionately about how that process got you through that. And I imagine is still getting you through that. If I'm not mistaken. So let's kind of hone in on the Thoughtfully Fit model, because it's got 6, it's got a circumference of 6 elements that wrap around, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little, she's got a little diagram that's the centrality of everything. It's kind of the motor that keeps everything going, but it's pause, think, and act. So talk a little bit about your program, if you could expand on it, and tell people what they could, expect out of it.
Yeah, the part that you just highlighted is the core of the model. And so just like if you are physically fit and you have a strong core, every movement's easier and you're going to be less likely to get injured. And you don't get a strong core from doing 20 sit-ups once a month. Right, you have to be consistent and train and practice. So in the same way, Thoughtfully Fit has a core. And at your core, you're able to explore in any situation, what are my choices and what do I control? Right? So you get blindsided. Somebody sends you an email and they're criticizing you and you're feeling defensive. Instead of pounding out a reply, or worse, reply all, and making it worse, the core is where you do these 3 steps to be able to slow it down so that you can handle yourself thoughtfully. And then get back to doing what you do best instead of overreacting or having this knee-jerk reaction or maybe silently stewing. And now you have to spend more time cleaning up the mess from not handling yourself thoughtfully in the first place. Right. And so that first step is to pause. And the pause kicks you off of autopilot, sets you up for step 2, which is to think. And that's where you ask yourself some thoughtful questions and you create some new awareness. How do I want to respond to this? Ooh, what's feeling hard about this? Where am I getting triggered and frustrated? What would the best version of me do in this moment? And then step 3 is to act thoughtfully based on the new awareness you have from pausing and thinking. And then you wash, rinse, repeat. So once you've acted, then you can pause again and reflect and think, how did that go? Did I get the results that I want? And act again.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, and I think you hit on a couple of things there that I just want to illuminate a little bit more. Is, you know, we advocate here on our show, been talking about it for 120 episodes, is thinking. And we're in a societal framework right now that in many ways encourages listening. You know, we'll tell you what you need to hear because you're so busy, and we're all fractured with all this busyness. And I think personally, to coin the phrase, that we have lost a touch with the slowing ourselves down to think. So, and thinking about asking ourselves enough questions. So I'm teaching an online class now, and the more and more I go through every session, I'm baking more and more questions into the class than I ever have before. And it's producing great results because you're really getting people to think about, gosh, what if I did do that or this or this or that or that? Okay, now I get it. I shouldn't do that or this or this. I should do this. And it's to your point where that process. So you're advocating in your program that core is central to every decision, every interaction, everything you're encountering, correct?
Everything. And it can be in a split second. It saves you. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, and instead of being like flipping them off and jerk, and you just pause and take a breath and think, do I want to be angry? Do I want to give all this negative energy? Do I want to, and then you make a choice and you can act, and maybe you just slow down and let them through. I mean, there's little places and there's big places. And certainly when my husband was arrested, there were all sorts of places where I was getting, attacked and having moments of challenges where that pause really saved me.
Yeah, sure. Jace, I can only imagine. And you do a good job, by the way, folks. Darcy really, is very transparent in her book and talks about some of those situations that you go through and what's going on in your mind, how you handle it and so forth. So it really is, it's very open. It's an open book for sure. So, there's these 3 tenets. I don't know if you call them processes on top of the, of the circle, if you will, and 3 on the bottom that wrap around your core. How does this program work? Or what are those tenets?
So the visual, there's 6 practices.
Yeah.
The 3 are internal, where we get in our own way. And then 3 are external, where we have challenges with other people. There you go. You've got the model. Beautiful. And they're all aligned within the metaphor for physical fitness, right? And so we've got stillness. There's so much to do, I can't even think. Strength, which is about, I don't always handle myself the way I'd like. And strength is being able to consciously choose how you show up.
Right.
And sometimes that's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
And then endurance, which is when you feel stuck.
Right.
And being able to overcome those obstacles and embrace a growth mindset to be able to get unstuck. Those are the 3 where we have found in working with our clients, you tend to get in your own way.
Yeah, sure. I can see it. Oh, absolutely. So that's the internal, and then the external is
So then the external, the first external hurdle that gets in the way is this notion, like, I'd be fine if only you were different. And clients coming in and saying, Darcy, I want to figure out, how can I get my boss to smile when he comes in? How can I get my neighbor to not mow the grass at 7 a.m. when I want to sleep in? If somebody else would change, I could be happy. And that is the practice of flexibility, which is being able to stretch to accept the fact that you can't change other people, and to stop wasting your energy being angry that they aren't the way you think they should be. And then the second external hurdle is having relationships that don't work, that are out of balance. And then the third is reacting poorly when blindsided. And that is agility and being able to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. So thoughts as they relate to actions, explain that a little bit. What's the correlation between that?
Yeah. So something happens and we have a thought, and this happens thousands of times a day. People are listening right now are having thoughts, and those thoughts lead to our actions. And then, of course, whatever action we take is going to determine what results we get. And so if you get that email from somebody that is criticizing you, and you notice not only did they email you, they copied your entire team, that first thought might be, what a jerk.
Right.
And if you act on that first thought, you might pound out that nasty reply. And of course, that leads to results, which is now you've got the conflict and blaming and defensiveness. And so with the thoughtfully fit model, going back to the core, it's not about not having those thoughts. We're human. Right. We have all sorts of thoughts, and a lot of times they're not the best thoughts.
Right.
It's being able to slow it down and to pause in that moment and to think, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Right. Because if that thought is sabotaging me, what a jerk, then you want to not act on that thought. You want to ask yourself some questions. Okay, what do I need to do to be able to calm down? Yeah. How can I show up in this moment that's going to neutralize the situation instead of adding fuel to the fire? And then once you get to that place where those thoughts are serving you, then you can act. Yeah. And of course, it may be that instead of replying at all, you pick up the phone. You say, hey, I just wanted to check in. I got your email, and I noticed it seemed like you were maybe upset. And I'm wondering, it seemed out of character, if something's up or if we could talk through it. And that then leads to completely different results than if you had acted on that first sabotaging thought.
Bingo. So critical for teams. Now, and I mean, so critical because you've got teammates that you're depending on to do certain things, and you've got to be an interweaving connect. You've got to connect and interweave with your each individual task to get the overall mission done. And if there's fracture, and if you misread something and you don't pause and pick up the phone, how important is that today? Right? I mean, you just mentioned it. I mean, we're all locked into this keyboard mentality that, we can't tell a person's facial expressions. We can't hear their voice inflection on an email or in a text message, and to be able
or behind a mask.
Right. To be able to share that. I mean, so we just released on episode 121, it is entitled Hitting Send by Mistake. And so, yeah, so it was a little 11-minute episode, and I gave a couple of examples where,
Oh, I can't wait to listen to it. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, we taped it about 6 weeks ago, but it's I've had two situations in my life. I lost a humongous customer because I said something I shouldn't have. I didn't pause, and I blind copied the person, and I hit send before, I really realized that person was blind copied on. So they were the person I was talking about. And another one, I had my boss, I sent something to my boss, and he just forwarded it on to the person I was talking about. And that fractured my working relationship with this factory manager for the rest of my career. It just was never the same. So unfortunately, you learn some painful things by making your own mistakes. But what we did is we frameworked that episode around the concept of a snow globe. And what I think of now is I go snow globing. And I say, you know what? Let me just let the dust of the snow globe, the snow settle, let the sun shine on the scenery, and so I pause, I wait. Many times I wait over the weekend. Many times I wait overnight, but I certainly don't write those Friday afternoon emails anymore. I don't, I was famous for making some mistakes. I come in from a run. Endorphins are flying. I'm on 9 cylinders, not even 8. And you're like, oh my gosh, and you hit send, you go, oh, what did I do? And sure enough, 10 minutes later, my phone's ringing. What in the world? Oh, why did I do that? Don't type the email when your endorphins are flying, right? I mean,
or at least don't, if you type it, don't hit send.
Send, right. So, but it's that concept of pausing, letting the snow globe settle, looking at the scenery, letting the sun peek in on it. And then you go, is that the right move? And when I wait that weekend to change something on a Monday, I couldn't tell you how many times I've not even sent that email. It just never even goes out. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a big
calmer
deal.
minds prevail. And thank you for just sharing your personal story of those two missteps. And I guess I'm feeling the urge to just name the fact that you the only thing that makes you different than me or others is your willingness to admit that. We all do that, right? We're human. We fail. We do things. We make mistakes. And so that pause is indeed what can put a little bit of time between, and hopefully awareness and empathy and judgment between the stimulus and the response, as Viktor Frankl talks about, right? That freedom to choose that exists in the middle there.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. So, big time, good stuff. So, tell us a little bit about, and I want to just make sure we're okay on time here, but explain the onboarding process for a individual who goes through the life coaching process with you, and workshops you would do with companies. What's that look like to onboard?
Yeah. So if somebody reaches out to us, and whether it might be an individual saying, I want more fulfillment, or I feel stuck in my life, or I've got a dream and a vision and I don't know where to start, or maybe it's an organization that is reaching out for some work with their team, with their managers, with their leaders. They want to improve communication, give people a chance to have healthy, positive conflict. We always start that process with an assessment so that we can get a sense of what is the current state. And what then is the desired state? What is it that success would look like? If you came in and did 6 months of coaching, what would be different in 6 months? And we identify then the primary focus areas that we're going to be working on and what the benchmarks are. So that at the end of the coaching engagement, whether it's with me or one of the coaches on my team, what we don't want is somebody to say, oh, that was great. I feel so much better. And Darcy's such a nice person, but nothing's changed because coaching and training and consulting, everything we do is about creating the change to get to that vision of peak performance of whatever it is that you've identified you're wanting to get towards. And so once we've identified what success is, then on the coaching end, we start that process with that initial discovery session and then those coaching sessions. And every session at the end, there's action items and there's homework.
Yep.
And it's not like what's going to happen this year. It's what are you going to do between now and our next coaching session in 2 weeks? And you break down the bite-sized action pieces, action items that then leads to success. Just like you, Jeff, running your marathon, that 12, 14, 16 week program, you got to do the work a little at a time. You don't go from 0 to 26.2.
Yeah. Well, bingo. And so great. So it's a 6-month process, or do you have okay. So that's individual. Now, workshops for corporations. I know you've interacted with companies in 45 different industries. So again, folks, you want accreditation, you want experience. Darcy's packed. Her program is packed with it. So what does a workshop look like for a company? Keynote speaking event.
Yeah. So depending on what we custom design everything. And so an organization comes in, we may do a keynote for their entire team, or we may do a half-day training or full-day training. And it might be around how do you create balanced conversations and balanced relationships, where you balance what do you want and need with what I want and need. And you try to find the win-win. That's our version of fierce, difficult, crucial conversations that, like, who wants to go have a difficult conversation? But to go have a balanced conversation to figure out, like, what do you need, Jeff? And here's what I need. And it feels like we're, not aligned. How can we achieve alignment? So we've got all the different topics based around the thoughtfully fit model. And so sometimes it's a half day or full day workshop. Yep. And then we have a couple of 4-month series that we have packaged. What are the biggest problems that we find organizations struggle with? And it's a 4-month series where there's trainings each month. And then in between are accountability groups, small group coaching, and skill drills. And so you're learning the skills and then having the chance to practice them. And then you come back in the next month in the next session and there's accountability. Great. How did it go? What did you do well? What did you learn? And then you build on those skills. Excellent.
And I've got a couple more questions, but so everything can be found at Darcy Luoma, LUOMA.com. And you can go there. And the book, if you're interested, you can get it on Amazon, or you could get it straight from Darcy, get it signed by her, if it comes from her office. And Sydney will work with you on that as well. So I've interacted with you. Very, very lovely young lady. So yeah, very, very, very
She
nice.
is fantastic. Really I have a great team. And those of you that people are interested in listening to the book, it's on Audible and of course all your local booksellers if you prefer to support local too.
Well, I got a couple more questions. What motivates you to go to work every day now? I mean, what gets you charged up about getting out of bed and going to work?
Do you know, Jeff, it took me 20 years to give myself permission and to have the courage to step into my passion. So for 20 years, I was in politics. I was working for the governor, for presidential campaigns. I was doing national advance. I was working for the senator. And I am not passionate about politics. And I kept finding myself in these meetings. I'd be sitting with a group of lobbyists or constituents who would be, advocating for something. And I was there on behalf of the senator. And at some point, like an hour into the meeting, they inevitably would say, "So Darcy, what does the senator think about that?"
Yeah.
And Jeff, I'd be like, "Oh my, what are they talking about?" I'm here thinking, okay, if we had done introductions, I wonder if more people would be talking. And I wonder why she's in the back and hasn't said anything. I wonder if she was at the table, if she would feel like I was always looking at the communication and how we can create an environment, right? And so I finally, it was January 2nd of 2013 was my last day in the U.S. Senate. January 3rd, I launched my business. Wow. And so what gets me motivated is that I am doing what I love. I love helping people to figure out how to be intentional, how to be thoughtful, how to live their life so they can reach your goals and you can clear those hurdles and obstacles that get in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so all work and no play. That was thank you for sharing that, by the way. All work and no play was your default before you had your life curveball. And so what can you share? What kind of advice could you give the listeners or viewers on what's the balance between all work and no play and life and parenthood and so forth?
Yeah, I've learned a lot there, and I've learned a lot the hard way by misstepping. And I'd say now one of the things that I've learned that I need to do is schedule the play, schedule the stillness, schedule the downtime, because my default is to drive. Yeah. It's just how I'm built. And I'm now in a life stage where I'm realizing driving so hard is not who I want to be. I want to be a present mom. Yeah. I want to be able to have downtime and to have some clarity to be able to be strategic and innovative and think instead of just be in the weeds doing. Yeah. So that's one thing that I've learned that really was critical on my journey is like, I can't just wait for it or hope that would happen. I've had to schedule it.
Yeah. Okay. How much time do we have, by the way? How much time do you have?
We're good. I'm good.
Okay. So, so very interesting. So, you have to schedule it. You have to make a concerted effort to give yourself that time to go reflect, think, right? And be a present mom rather than a forward motion mom.
I do. I schedule, I get a massage every other week. I go floating in the isolation tank once a month. Yeah. I have my Headspace app. I do my 12-minute meditation every morning, right? And then probably similar to you, I also find for me, when I'm out for a run or a bike ride, that's a place where, or I'm swimming, I can't have my phone. I can't be productive. Yeah. I just need to be present with what is. And so I schedule all of my workouts. Yeah. I schedule time with my daughters to go to the dog park, to go to the movies. When I didn't do that, I just worked and worked and worked.
Yeah. So such good advice. And it does, you have to do that to be able to give your life some balance. And, I, in writing my book, I knew that in 1989, I wanted to do it. And I used empirical data as a form of centrality for my efforts. And then I looked at situational observations, and I've spent time with 32 companies in 9 different industries. And what I always looked at is I want to absorb what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm listening to, what's happening to me next to me in a trade show booth, what was going on there, what's happening to that table over there in a restaurant, what am I really digesting here as a human looking at other human interaction. And one of the things, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think you're touching on it kind of, is in today's world, we're so glued to smartphone technology, and we're missing the moment by trying to capture the moment. Yeah. Do you agree with that or not?
Oh, yes. I just went to a wedding and they had everybody put their cell phones in when they came in, and they said, we have a photographer. We're going to make sure we capture pictures. We're going to send them all to you afterwards so that you can just be enjoying the moment and be present in the moment. Yeah. That was like, wow, that's bold.
I mean, Darcy, I'm watching this. I'm going to restaurants by myself as I travel, spend 100 nights a year in hotels, and I'm looking at a family over there eat the whole 49 minutes they're there. Nobody said a word to anybody else. And what's the use? What is the nucleus of that family like? What are the problems that aren't being addressed? What are the things that aren't being thoughtfully combed through? And what are the actions in that family? And I love to look at that and kind of try to figure that out. And it's bothering me that, here we are in a society that we keep going forward, and we don't just enjoy the moment for the moment's sake. And that's something that I gleaned from your book, that you had, or you necessarily saw that in your reflection in the mirror and said, I've got to change. And your program helps that change. So,
it's awesome. Interesting, Jeff. Thank you for noticing that and highlighting that. My book came out, it came out in June, but I got advanced copies in May, and I gave a copy to my mom. She was very, very sick and dying of cancer, and she was able to read it before she passed this fall. And I went to visit her, and she said, Darcy, your book is phenomenal, but it's so different than what I was expecting. And I said, really, why is that, Mom? And she said, well, just because, I'm your mom. I know you. I've known you your whole life, and you've always been driving and the next goal and the next meet and the next triathlon. And she said, so I just thought that would be what this is all about. How to be thoughtfully fit. How do you do? And she said, it just was amazing that you also talked about the holistic health and wellness and the need for stillness and how your body and your mind needs time to recover. And like, if you're going to lift weights, you don't lift every day. Your body builds stronger on the rest days. Yep. And she said it was just so amazing to watch you grow and evolve as a person, and to highlight the need for that. And so I don't judge anybody for where you're at in your life phase. And it took me a couple decades to learn that lesson. But I do think that life is richer when you make space for that stillness and to slow down and to be present in the moments, as you said.
Huge part of what we advocate. I writing my book, I spent 18 nights in cabins and in the Ozarks, and it's on 4 cabins on 137 acres, beautiful. And the first exercise I did is I took blank index cards. I took a pen, and I sat there for an entire 3 days, 2 nights and 3 days. And all I did, I'd taken notes and had everything planned out in the book, but I took mental notes. Okay, my first company, what are the good things I learned from that company? What are the bad things? And I stretched my brain and that technology off. And I was amazed at how much my brain could recall without any other influences or material. And I gained a love affair for, that process of turning technology off and thinking, reflecting. I listened to one of your podcasts with a young lady. I think it was woods therapy, going in the woods. I think if I have it right. And it was kind of neat. And she takes people in the woods and you lay down, you look up, and, it's just, hey, this is how we connect with ourselves and get to the bottom of some of this stuff that needs to be taken care of. So very, very cool. Well, I have just 2 more questions. If you had, I think we kind of lose touch with the word hallmark, but, what is Darcy Luoma's hallmark? If you had to say in a nutshell, what would you describe yourself as being best noted for?
I think my hallmark is just being wickedly curious and really helping. I love helping somebody identify what success looks like for them with no judgment, with no agenda, being really curious, and then being on the path to guiding them to get to that result. Okay. I mean, that's what I love. It's what lights me up.
So you put your life gardening gloves on with someone, you roll up your sleeves and say, let's ask a ton of questions, because I'm curious, what are we trying to get to here? And the curiosity is going to generate the questions, if I'm hearing you right. So, okay. Yeah. Very cool. So last question, and I'll let you go. Again, before I ask it, guys, here's the book, Thoughtfully Fit, really engaged. I can't wait to finish it. I'm sorry I didn't finish it prior to this, but I just, I got caught up in things I had to do, but very good. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll put a review on Amazon for you, and thank you. DarcyLuoma.com. Go there. She's got her program there, all kinds of stuff. 45 different industries. Holy smokes, she knows what she's talking about. Accredited, very fun. Last question. We love to connect with music. I think music, rock and roll for me, it still is. It's sometimes when I don't want to think, but I just want to change my feeling a little bit. I listen to, and so we all have songs that are kind of our anthem or important to us or hit us at a certain time of our life. They may not be the #1 tune on the charts, but they're important to us. What is that song that you want to pick as your Lost in the Shuffle track today?
Yeah, love that question. It's so fantastic. And for me, it's This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. That song just, it like emotionally, the music, the words, the message, it just lights me up.
Awesome. Well, when my wife and I watched the movie, we were in the theater and that song came on during the production, it gave me the shivers. I kind of was like, wow, because we all have our stories. We're all made distinctly unique. We all have our unique experiences that shape us to be who we are. And certainly the words. So we're going to put up. So what we do, Darcy, is on the visual experience on YouTube, we put a little card up at the top when we mention it. So it's "This Is Me," and it was the song from the movie, The Greatest Showman, and it's going to be up on this little card up here, and it is the one that has the lyrics on it. So it's got Kayla Settle singing it, it's got the lyrics. So very cool song. And guys, by the way, Wisconsin, just to plug out, thank you for the Lost in the Shuffle pick, Darcy, but Wisconsin, Baraboo and Delavan were homes to a lot of the off-season circus training. Very cool. My parents used to take me to Sarasota to the Little Big Top, which was the high school kids. From 6th grade to high school, I believe, Barnum and Bailey, they used to, put on a circus during the Easter. So we would go down there to visit my aunt and uncle. So got to watch that. But Wisconsin, Baraboo, Delavan's got a lot of history with that. If you want to go to a pretty state, guys, oh my goodness. My favorite drive is Wausau North on 39 to 51, go up to Minocqua, up to Ashland, do the Cornucopia, go to Duluth. Oh my gosh, it's just... Door County. Yeah, I mean, just beautiful. So you are living in a beautiful state, and thank you for being so honest and so transparent. And we wish all the best for you and your family and your business. And when I'm up there, I'll let Sydney know. Maybe we can get together for a cup of coffee or a bite to eat or something.
I would love that. Some cheese curds.
Yeah. I love that too. Darcy Luoma, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh, such a pleasure. You are delightful and so easy and fun to talk to. I really appreciate it.
Well, sounds great. Well, everybody, don't forget, we'll be back next week with another episode. We'll see you in 168 hours. And Darcy, thanks again, and have a great rest of the week. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.